All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Radcast on the Social Club at the End of the World, focusing on radical collective intelligence. And I want to welcome and introduce my colleagues. We have Adam, who's in Olympia, Washington, and Michael, who's in San Francisco. I'm Jamin, and I'm on Whidbey Island, Washington. Welcome, Michael and Adam. Going on mute.
Hi, Jamin. Good to be here, and always a topic I'm interested in exploring. So,
awesome.
You guys.
Great to have you here, Michael. You are one of the pioneers of radical collective intelligence, and we wouldn't be here without you.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but thank you.
Well, I do. All righty. Adam, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing great, and thanks. Appreciate being on here. I'm just going to leave my icon up because I'm on my cell phone, and I think it's just better. So I'll be muted most of the time. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So the topic for this hour is radical collective intelligence. And I just want to maybe just do a quick screen share and highlight a couple of things on a diagram I put up on the last hour where we were focusing on refreezing the Arctic as the major topic, just to kind of see how all these fit together. Let's see. Oops, looks like my I'm going to have to reconnect my iPad here. So just bear with me a moment. There we go. Do you guys see the iPad up on the screen? You probably do.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. All right. So the image I was showing last time is this one right here. I'll just kind of highlight a couple of things. So we're on the topic right now of radical collective intelligence. The most urgent thing we need to do is refreeze the Arctic, ideally by this summer. Because if we don't refreeze the Arctic and we lose the Arctic ice, according to the president of Finland and many climate scientists, if we lose the Arctic, we lose the planet. We lose habitat for humanity on planet Earth. So in order to refreeze the Arctic, we need engineering solutions, which we're counting on radical collective intelligence to generate, which basically means we're counting on all of us to come together in an intelligent, organized way to co-create all the solutions that we need. We talked extensively on the last hour about no matter how great the engineering solutions we come up with are, if we do not come up with the political solutions and the social solutions of waking up humanity and activating humanity to get active in the political process through whether it's referendums or revolution, but one way or another, we need to either coax the hand or force the hand of government to do the right thing, which is to fund the engineering solutions for refreezing the Arctic. And then if you look way to the left here, sort of think of this as a stream. Downstream is to the right, upstream is to the left. So way upstream, we have a new story for humanity, which will be the subject of our Radcast of the next hour, starting at noon Pacific time in about 45 minutes. And that new story, I posit, must be a story that inspires masses of people to get involved, to join the radical collective intelligence, to help co-create all the solutions that we need in order to ultimately refreeze the Arctic. By the way, refreezing the Arctic is just the first step to saving life on Earth. It's just simply the most urgent step. And now that I'm back on video, I want to welcome back Typing Piper, who joined us last hour. Welcome back, Typing. However you want to be referred to, I'm happy to refer you to. So with that, I'm going to go on mute and listen for folks' comments on what I just mentioned and anything else related to radical collective intelligence and the big picture.
Well, I could just quickly offer that it's been increasingly apparent to me, and last night I attended our Spaceship Earth Day event. It's the Buckminster Fuller Institute's kind of coming out party for all their new initiatives, and they're extremely aligned with what we're talking about here. Obviously, it's pretty much the BFI mission, and but it becomes, when I see all these amazing people working on all these projects, and you just realize what an uphill battle it is, and And it really very much does get down to the subject of the next hour here, which is the story, changing the narratives, changing what are we doing as a human species? What are we doing as a global society? What are we doing as stewards of our planet? Are we the stewards of our planet? It seems like that's what we were designed for, as far as we can tell. And so it's one thing for all these ventures to be getting funded and networking, and and I'm very involved in this kind of global networking of the evolutionary culture and so forth. But I'll tell you, until the mass media mind, we are a media species. We've been indoctrinated into this consumer paradigm with advertising-driven media, and of course, if you guys might have watched Jaron Lanier's TED Talk when he just skewered the whole Facebook, Google paradigm. It was the big mistake we made on the web, was integrating advertising, and advertising in the internet age. Jaron Lanier, one of the founders of virtual reality, he says it's no longer advertising. These are behavior modification empires. That's what Facebook is. That's what Google is. They're behavior modification empires. And this is what's going on. And so my point is, we have to couple our development of these new initiatives and these technology solutions with massive media outreach. And, we've got to bring in our conscious celebrities who are becoming more concerned all the time, and also more cognizant of their position. I'm talking about actors and musicians and all these public figures who could really change the narrative. And so this is what I'm hoping. I also see the kind of production funds that Netflix has. And so having reality TV shows, documentaries, all associated with this work is super critical. So I just wanted to inject that. And of course, my focus, whereas I have some connections in the entertainment world and festival culture and so forth, I'm mainly, like probably most of us just working here, concerned with technology solutions and the political solutions, which that again gets down to. That's why the public opinion is so important, because let's face it, the corporations, the banking system, they're running the show. And when we say we got to influence our governments, well, that's what we mean. We have to influence the entire infrastructure of power. And it's only through the popular consciousness and kind of an uprising that it's going to happen. So.
No, awesome, Michael. Really great points. Just to chime in, that's the first time I'd heard those words, behavior modification empire, but great words by Lanier. That's exactly what they've become. And it just occurred to me while you were saying that, how I was down, a couple of months ago with my Darth Vader costume and this giant sign that says abrupt climate change. Which side are you on? It shows the Death Star of abrupt climate change starting to destroy Mother Earth with its big laser beam. And, I had done that. I had, done singing and dancing with that giant sign in my Darth Vader costume in downtown San Francisco, UC Berkeley, and Stanford. But we'd actually talked about this, and it occurs to me now it'd be a powerful thing to do this direct action activism at basically the main entrances, the headquarters to Google, Facebook, and Apple. Why not? Imagine we got 3 Darth Vaders, one for each, and simply forced the conversation, right? And simply dug in until these behavior modification empires started to get with the program that the behavior modification that we need to orchestrate is getting humanity to wake up, that we need to urgently refreeze the Arctic by this summer. I think if just imagine, just kind of as like a stretch goal, that we were to get Facebook and Google fully on board with this. And they were like, you know what? You're right. Even though I'm not watching this on CNN or Fox News, this is an urgent thing. And we, Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, etc., have the ability to influence the conversation. So I feel like we're very close because the science is quite clear. The Arctic ice is melting. It's almost gone. And when it's gone, we're gone. I mean, what part of that is so hard to understand for people? We obviously get it. That's why we're here. But how do we get this message into, how do we ram it up the butthole of the Death Star, to paraphrase the final scene of Star Wars, right? How do we get it up the exhaust port of the Death Star where it can really make the bang that it needs to make? With that, I'm going to go on mute. Love to hear people's thoughts.
Hey, Jamin.
Yes, sir. Adam.
Hey, yeah. So I just think, well, to begin with, talking about it like this is generating, a lot of interest and helping people become aware. So I think that we're definitely getting started in the right direction just by talking about it.
Yeah, we're here. We're doing our part. So how do we get the rest of the world to basically be here, right, in this conversation? And that's, of course, the mission of Radish is to bring people together so that we can deal rationally and radically with these existential threats.
In the meantime, I think I'm going to go ahead and do some research on submitting an ad in the Daily Journal for big contractors. I don't see why we couldn't, but they may have stipulations on who can submit what. I don't know, but I'll find out.
Well, I think we just heard from our youngest participant, who Typing Piper is hosting.
Oh. Is my microphone on?
Yeah, no, and that's fine. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Love to hear from you. What do you think, Typing Piper?
I was questioning whether or not it was possible to turn Radish into a forum type website like Reddit, where you would have different feeds regarding different topics or solutions to how to refreeze the Arctic and all the several other solutions we'd have to have afterwards when it comes to new forms of farming, lifestyle, transportation. But that way, people who have different solutions would be able to find the topic that best suits them and then able to have those conversations with like-minded people in those forums. And I know that Reddit was started by a couple guys in their basement or garage or something. So I don't think a website like that would be too difficult to create. But that was one idea that I had.
No, it's a great idea. In fact, we in our last couple of development meetings, we've actually talked about we've been configuring our own discussion forum portion of Radish to basically mirror Reddit, because we love the whole multi-threading and everything, that whole interface that Reddit has. So kudos for pointing out Reddit. So we're baking that into some degree within Radish. Radish has a fundamentally different focus, whereas Reddit is about conversations of written text, typed text. Radish is about video conference conversations like we're doing right now as the main medium. But then for every recorded video conference that's posted on Radish, there is a discussion forum that follows it. But the idea is that we lead with the video conference, which is part of a much larger paradigm for Radish, Radical Collective Intelligence, where we're basically, humanity comes together in an ongoing whole, ecosystem of conversations that are happening in real time. And with artificial intelligence listening in, transcribing what's being said into text, and then mapping that text to the toposphere of topics. The big idea is that once we get this giant diesel engine churning away and all the parts are moving properly, if you'll pardon the metaphor, that once it's working as designed, as conceived, humanity will be in an ongoing conversation with various layers of artificial intelligence, probing, poking, refining, and coming up with all the myriad solutions that we need. That's the big vision. We're quite a ways from getting there, but these are steps, including this video conference itself, are steps in that direction, in making that big dream happen. Because my fundamental paradigm is that just as refreezing the Arctic is an arguably wicked problem, greenhouse gases are an arguably much more wicked problem. The poisoning of the ocean is wicked, overpopulation is wicked, greed and the whole modality of hoarding and the economy of hoarding and the banking system and all that is wicked. We've got wicked problems compounding wicked problems. It's kind of like a wicked witch's brew, where literally every, rotten, decomposing rat or bat or snail or toad is thrown into the pot, and we're just stirring it, and it's just getting more toxic by the minute. So we're literally going to need a vastly, by orders of magnitude, higher form of intelligence than the sum total of all intelligence that's being applied to the world's problems today, because the way that we're going about solving our problems today is fundamentally the same as we've done for the past several decades, which is politics as usual, capitalism as usual. Yes, there's new technologies coming on the scene all the time, but given the imperative to make money and turn a profit, those are being applied not in a holistic context, but in a hoarding context, and end up making matters much, much worse. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I was just making a plug for the big picture scope of radical collective intelligence and where we need to take it if we're going to survive. That's my view. Go on unmute.
It almost sounds a lot like the stock market algorithms that were created the late 1990s, where it was designed to try to find the next upcoming stocks. But if you're able to reprogram that and have it be designed to look for solutions and people to actually put those solutions together, it doesn't sound like reprogramming something like that would be too difficult.
Well, you see, difficulty is always has to be looked at relative to the intelligence that's brought to it, right? So if I bring my nephew's calculus homework and I give it to my dog, that's going to be too difficult for the dog to figure out because of the dog's intelligence. Not that the dog is not intelligent. I just want to encourage people to mute their microphones while they're not talking. For background noise and echo, but so yes, it would be it is very difficult to create this system, but as we bring more intelligence to it, here I'm just going to show kind of a visual that I think will help for this. Let me get the visual up and then I'll do screen share. Okay. But one point I want to make is the intelligence that we're bringing to it with radical collective intelligence, it's not just artificial intelligence. It's kind of like this new exotic composite or hybrid between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So it's this constant ongoing dialectic between the two. But here, let me show you this visual for why I think that it is definitely difficult, but not impossible. All right. So the evolution of radical collective intelligence. We're starting with the platform that we've got, right? We've built out a platform. It's in private beta now. You're all invited to join. And that platform for radical collective intelligence will support an actual collective intelligence that will grow on top of it. Think like a plant inside of a pot. The bigger the pot, the bigger that plant's going to be able to grow, but the growth of the plant will be constrained by the pot being the platform. And so this actual collective intelligence will then set about coming up with myriad solutions, refreezing the Arctic, among many others, and it will also work on the next generation of the platform. which of course will be way more sophisticated than the first because it was built with a higher form of intelligence. That platform will in turn support a vastly higher form of intelligence, the actual intelligence, which in turn will then set about building the next generation platform, which will support an even larger form of intelligence still. And you see where the trend goes. There's literally no limit to it. And so we can create, we're at the doorstep, at the cusp of creating an arbitrarily large form of intelligence because of the fundamental dynamic that I've laid out here. So again, we're not trying to count on artificial intelligence to figure everything out. It's humans and AI working together in collaboration. Going on mute.
I just want to say, and obviously I've been working with you on this stuff, Jamin, and I wonder if how many folks on the call happen to have seen the new film that came out, Do You Trust This Computer? I'm going to put the link in the window here. Did you get a chance to watch that yourself, Jamin?
Yes, I did. I watched the whole thing, and in fact, I watched the last 20 minutes like 3 times because the last 20 minutes had the most interesting insights and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
so that's a film on AI, and it's an incredibly well done documentary. I mean, bravo to the producers. It's just so good. But what it conveys is this reality of the Google and IBM mainly, their incredible efforts, and the fact that they all don't really know where it's all going. That's what's kind of sobering about it. They don't really know what their end game is, but I think we do. I think that the prime directive of Earth's AI system that's evolving needs to be, 1, sustaining life on the planet, and 2, maintaining human thrivability. If human thrivability isn't in the equation, then AI may just eliminate us. No joke, I mean, but I think AI, as the global AI, as it's learning the environment in which it's in, it's grokking. It's already, I think, understanding the system of nature, this distributed network of nature, and the human civilization impact on it, and the system in which it's embedded. And I'll tell you, the Matrix films just get all the more, poignant when you think about an AI system understanding that it is dependent upon electricity that's being generated within the biosphere as a subsystem of the biosphere. So anyway, I won't go on, but at some point need to connect with some really players in the advanced AI space and see if we can't get some connections going on these very high levels. And I have I have an in with IBM back in on the East Coast. So that's a connection to keep in mind. And likewise, we can connect with the Google circle too.
Well, let's bring them in, because we need to refreeze the Arctic this summer. It's already mid-April. Tax day has come and gone, right? We're running out of time. So let's bring these folks into this very forum, among others, right? I'm happy to do a custom forum just for them if they don't like the banner social club at the end of the world. But let's get these folks into the conversation because we need them with urgency.
Yeah. Well, my hope would be that we would get some recognition and be able to kind of short circuit the kind of lower level development of AI applications that we can at this stage do. I mean, it'd just be great to get in with some of the super advanced projects. I mean, there's projects going on that are probably pretty parallel to this, Jamin, with AI. So I'm going to work myself on both the IBM connection and some other relationships with Google. I'll put that on my kind of to-do list here over the next several weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Totally. And, and definitely it's true that some of the bigger corporations have some of the most well-funded and heavily heavily supported with hardware and experts projects, but there are also massive open source projects on artificial intelligence that we can tap into right now, and we're basically getting Radish up on GitHub as quick as we can so that we can tap into that as well. Because you see, the AI folks, they've got their stuff that they've been working on within their kind of paradigm. Radical collective intelligence is a whole new paradigm that brings together AI and human intelligence. And until AI passes up human intelligence is still way more robust, creative, and able to collaborate in group form like we're doing right now. See, the intelligence that we're manifesting right here is way greater than my intelligence or any individual's intelligence. We got the multiple perspective, we know how to communicate. And with video conferencing, which has just come out in the last few years in a big way, we're able to communicate like we evolved to communicate, which was in person, where we can see each other, not just hear each other, but also see each other. So I would propose, a next generation Turing test, kind of a strong Turing test for when can a computer actually replicate a person and make the other people on the video conference think that they're actually a human being, right? That's a much stronger Turing test. Until AI can pass that Turing test, we're in the lead, and we need to work with AI as a composite, right? As a mashup, as a union. Anyway, that's my very strong belief. And we can and by doing so, we can, our radical collective intelligence can actually establish a permanent lead over AI in isolation, right? It's kind of like saying, a watermelon plus an apple will always weigh more than the watermelon itself. So humanity is that apple that, when added to the watermelon of AI, creates something greater. That's radical collective intelligence. And right now we got a pretty tiny watermelon and a pretty big apple. So all the more reason to put the two together. And because we need to come up with so many solutions, a whole spider's web of solutions, Charlotte's web of solutions, a whole matrix of solutions in very short order. Going on mute.
I was going to say that Michael had even mentioned when I had just come on, sort of just saying, needing like some publicity for this thing if you're going to get more people aware that it even exists. And it just, I've been thinking about this as well, maybe, and I'm not exactly the person to shoot this, maybe like a video person could really, or an editing person could really put something together to actually help like drum up. And he sort of said, like Michael sort of said, like a reality television thing, where you get like a snowblower and try to like actually, it would be like almost comedy, but trying to get people to say like, look, we're bringing people together to come up with ideas to refreeze the Arctic, and do maybe like a Kickstarter campaign to get money to bring a bunch of snowblowers to the Arctic to see if you can help refreeze the Arctic. And maybe even if that's not the actual best way to do it, that this sort of reality comedy type thing that could be on YouTube would be the way to drum up just awareness and the idea that people should need to get on radish.org and start discussing different ideas that they have for refreezing the Arctic immediately. And then the branching off topics of urban agriculture to save, an agriculture revolution and onwards into all the other topics. But, refreezing the Arctic, sort of use that as like the awakening aha moment to do something, literally get a snowblower, like, I don't know, in a set up in the mountains or something. And like people are just around it like, okay, we're here trying to refreeze the Arctic, to see if this is going to work, just like make it, comedy almost. Cause it's like a fucking joke, but like
right.
Trying to get people to give money for an actual, like going up to the Arctic to maybe actually try to really test several different methods of refreezing the ice.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the flat Earth thing going on, I think anything's possible these days to rally. But I think that's great. I really like the idea of what you just said. That's very comical. Like, we got to do something. We got to do something. Let's take these snowblowers up there. Like, next episode could be with serious engineers with Arup Corporation, you know, talking about actually, you know, building a giant wall in the ocean to affect the current flow, or what Jamin's been talking about, the thin film and hot air balloons holding up reflective material over hundreds of square miles, you know. So you go from the snowblowers to these actual things, and you know, I think that's great. I think it's good. And you know what? I think humor is very key. I think you hit on perhaps one of the most important points of all is humor. And Jamin's hip to that too. You know, he's been doing his performance art protest, you know. I don't know if you guys know that, but, you know, dressing up as Darth Vader and holding these signs. And so it's humorous, but not. It's a real message, you know. It's a real wake-up call. And so I think you really planted a great seed there.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. And by the way, thank you, Michael, for committing to reach out to your contacts. That's going to be super awesome to get in some heavy-hitting AI folks into the conversation, because they have children too, you know, who will likewise starve to death in a dying world. So, you know, this is the time to break down all these barriers and you know, get on these video conferences. This is how we come together and hash stuff out. And because it's being recorded, ultimately this will be transcribed into text and mapped to the toposphere. So literally every word we utter, not just words, but gestures, tonality, pause, all the ways that we communicate are being captured and will be processed by layers of AI when those layers of AI come online. So in a way, we're kind of building up this inventory of engagement and conversation right now, which will all be, you know, processed and put into the matrix of the toposphere. You could think of the toposphere as a big matrix, but not just these conversations. We're also developing the technology to process and digest all peer-reviewed academic journal articles, whether in climate science or political science or you name the field. And once those are all mapped to the toposphere, now when people cluster around a topic to have a conversation like we're having right now, they've got instant programmatic access to all of this knowledge that will have been mapped to the toposphere. So this is the giant Manhattan Project for solving the world's problems, radical collective intelligence. It just so happens we're focusing first on refreezing the Arctic. But once we get this machinery working and we're able to apply this radical collective intelligence to wicked problems, we'll turn it loose on all wicked problems simultaneously and holistically. So refreezing, but our opening performance. Going on mute.
Hey, Jamin, I got a question. So during this conversation we're having today, Jason brought up a good point about art. And typing made some good points, and so did Michael. And so will the RCI engine then is going to record conversations, and somehow the artificial intelligence is going to catalog those conversations. And so we're not taking notes. I mean, I don't see you taking notes. And I mean, it seems like if we were really going to have a meeting, we'd be, you know, writing up on the chalkboard and assigning people jobs, and we'd get organized. But from what I'm hearing here is that radical collective intelligence will do that for us. Is that correct?
That's exactly the idea, Adam. That is exactly the idea. And so, you know, we're pushing forward with tentative, you know, little baby steps here and there, doing these video conferences, recording them. They're not being transcribed yet because we don't have the AI set up for that yet. But as soon as we do, boom, we will backlog, transcribe and index and map all these conversations, as well as all academic journal articles, et cetera. And so we're talking really about the radical collective intelligence of the future, right? And how far into the future that is up to us. It's up to us to build this out open source style as quickly as we possibly can. But once it's operating, that's where, you know, the vision is all of humanity plugged in, talking to each other in literally millions of conversations that will be progressing simultaneously. And in real time, these information streams coming out of us will be transcribed, indexed, and mapped to the toposphere and plugged right in. So as we're having this conversation on radical collective intelligence, on refreezing the Arctic, on whatever topic, suddenly, you know, on our screen, or, you know, we will have programmatic access to seeing who else is talking about this right now. And if we're stuck on some fundamental stumbling block of, yeah, but how do you stabilize the thin film reflective material? You know, beep, 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 beep. You know, the AI would say, okay, they're asking this question. They do not have the answer. But somebody else in some other conversation halfway around the world that's happening in real time may be actually working out a solution for stabilizing large thin film sheets in the face of wind, rain, and whatever else, so that it can do its job. You see, it's going to be helping us to automatically connect, not necessarily just information to information, but people to people. Because I mean, how many times in life have we experienced we're stuck on something and then suddenly we're introduced to the right group of people and kaboom, we knock down the barriers? Because if there's something that you can't do in life, I don't care what it is, if there's something that where you're stuck and you cannot move forward, it's because there's something you don't know. And as soon as you find that out, boom, you knock over the barrier and you keep going. Radical collective intelligence is all about connecting us to that someone, that something that we don't know that we need to know urgently. Go on mute.
Well, yeah, and I can see that. But once you get into the radical collective intelligence and it's recording all these conversations, at some point, it seems like pencil needs to be put to the paper, and you have to have some kind of organization. And so, you know, you have to be able to have a blog where people can, you know, go there and see, well, who does what, you know. Is that going to be a part of radical collective intelligence, or if somebody wants to, okay.
Absolutely.
So, can you describe the radical collective intelligent platform, or is that?
No, let me describe it for you, and I think it'll answer a lot of the questions that are coming up, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So in terms of the solutions that need to be co-created, let's use GitHub as kind of a metaphor, right? The largest open source platform for open source software development. On GitHub, often projects start as an idea. Hey, what if we were to do this? Then people start to put together project plans and then actual code. And it may not work at the first go. And they'll keep working on it, More people will collaborate and contribute, make what are called micro contributions, until you have an actual functioning piece of software that does what it was intended to do. Now, if you think of that software as a machine, right, as a system, right, it's not too big of a stretch to go from a working piece of software to a working mechanical system in the physical world, whether it's spraying water into the atmosphere or, you know, build or mass producing thin film reflective material or whatever. So from software to machine, then go from machine to actual complete holistic end-to-end project. You know, the kind of thing you cut $1 billion check to a Bechtel and say, do this. When they finally completed the project, there you go. So whether software, machine, complete $1 billion engineering project, all of these have the following in common. They're all made up of elements that all need to fit together and work together with integrity. And so the pencil to paper happens at the level of writing lines of code. It happens at the level of the AutoCAD files that define the machine that's being built. And they happen at the level of project management, something you're an expert in, Adam, for a complete long-term holistic civil engineering project that needs to be built from soup to nuts. So we're going to use the same fundamental technology, the conversational domain, which we're using right now, which is not generating AutoCAD files, combined with the very GitHub-like processes of micro contribution, where we will generate all the code, AutoCAD files, and complete end-to-end project plans, including financing and everything else to make this all complete. So in the conversational domain, we focus on having conversations, uncovering information, and making new connections, meeting new people, connecting with other groups, figuring all this stuff out. The AI maps everything that we're being said to the toposphere, and all that in turn is mapped to the actual projects where people are hard coding and designing the actual software, mechanical systems, and all the way to complete project plans for getting them done. Go on mute. Go ahead.
Jamin, let me rephrase my question. If I'm a brand new user and I come to the Radical Collective Intelligence site, what will it look like? And maybe Michael will answer that better. I don't know. But you see, that's what I'm saying. It's more of a feet on the ground. Not the you're kind of upper. You're really way up there, upper level, and I'm having a hard time understanding. I mean, I understand how you put software together, and and you write code, and you do all this, but I want to know what it's going to look like when I go there. How, you know what I mean? How folders are divided up. You go to different sites on websites, and I think typing.
How far are you to beta?
Yeah, I'll mute out here. So
we are. There's the radish.org website right now, which is just an informational website, but the initial platform for the video conversations is in development right now, and it'll be ready for kind of an alpha release soon. And some of those of you on the call may want to join our beta test circle. But yeah, we're definitely aware of standards and conventions that people are used to, and doing our best to make it very accessible and easy to immediately come in and start watching conversations, but then you join to be able to comment on and start participating in conversations. So it's at once starting to form a little community. There's a social media component to it that you have, a profile, and it's just a very first step, but we do see it as a first step in an evolution of this platform, and then the added new systems that will be built on top of it, which is much more about implementing these ideas. We're all very conscious that conversations have been going on for decades now, and in the preaching to the choir syndrome, we've got to get out of that. So we're very aware that this is very much about taking action. But you have to have a strategy, and you have to have resources in place before you can take action. So hence collective intelligence powered by AI, human collective intelligence. And only other thing I can say is that I think that whereas our emphasis is on individuals participating in conversations, we're also very aware that the world is controlled by institutions. And so what's really important is that we have individuals that are representing large institutions getting involved in these conversations.
Right. Good stuff. And just to add to what Michael was just saying, is you could sort of imagine, and this is to answer Adam's question in pretty simple terms. You can imagine you go to Radish, and there's fundamentally two places you can go within Radish. There's the conversational domain where you say, oh, hey, they're having a conversation right now about refreezing the Arctic. Let me join that. Boom. And you're, part of the conversation. The other part is, let's call it, Home Depot. You can build it. We can help. When you go to the Home Depot part of Radish, that's where you're actually building stuff. You're collaborating with other people and actually building stuff, whether it's software, mechanical system design, or an entire project plan design. So there's fundamentally two modalities. You're either talking, like we're doing right now, we're just talking, we're not taking notes, we're not drawing stuff down, though we certainly could be, or you're in roll up your sleeves, design and build mode. And that's what I'll call the Home Depot part. So there's, Toastmasters and then Home Depot. Those are the kind of the two sides of Radish, right? One, you get together and you talk and you network and you create information at this level, at the conversational level. The other is at the level of code, AutoCAD files, project plans, etc. Going on mute.
So you could have a kind of a small talk show type of deal. If you had one particular topic and you wanted to head it up, you could do a little talk show on it, maybe repeat it, huh? Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is basically a talk show, what we're doing right now. This is a weekly talk show on radical collective intelligence where anyone can join and say, hey, what's this about? And blah, blah, blah. We're experimenting with the medium right now. That's what we're doing. So we're building the platform and using it at the same time.
Hey, Jamin, I actually had an idea about this. Have you guys ever considered turning this into some sort of podcast in order to bring attention to it? The material is already being created with these conversations. And unfortunately, with the video, this isn't something that somebody could listen to at work or really engage in their spare time. Whereas if they download a podcast and they're out running or driving to work or doing something that doesn't involve watching a video, where they can just listen to us talking about these topics. And at the beginning or the end of these podcasts, you could advertise for Radish and let them know where to go if they want to engage in the conversations or if they have any ideas that weren't brought up in these conversations. And
I love it. I love it. That's a perfect example of a project that can be taken on within the GitHub portion of Radish. We're setting up Radish on GitHub to open source all this stuff. And I would like to put out the call both right now, and we'll do it again on GitHub, to do exactly what typing suggested, which is let's, would somebody kindly, build out the code and so that we can take YouTube videos and turn them into podcasts. Maybe that's already exists and we just need to bolt it in. So in that case, whoever knows A, where they are, and B, how to bolt them on, please join us, right? That's the whole beauty of GitHub and open source. So there we're actually talking about, and what happened in the last 4 minutes is literally a perfect example. Something is spoken, typing said, hey, why don't you do this? And he just said it in plain English. I said, great idea. All of it is transcribed. Boop, 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 boop. Then this can go on the list of projects that need to get done for Radish. And then individual volunteers on GitHub can say, well, I know how to do that. That's easy. Boom, 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 boom. That's the whole idea. Get the people for whom it's easy to take the actions, But if they don't know that there's a need for their skills, they're never going to take the action. So you see how it's this dialectic. It's this going back and forth between conversation and build and conversation and build. And the more we build, the bigger the platform we have to take even fuller advantage of these conversations. Going on mute.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, carrying on the theme and trying to link what Jason said a little earlier about creating just an event where people gather around a snowblower to create some public interest, and also to address Adam's concern about, well, where's the organization? Where's the administrative functions that are organized in a hierarchical command and control structure to, say, get this snowblower activity going? And I want to share something with respect to that, and it's called Community Toolbox. And this is a very interesting website created by the University of Kansas. And essentially, any project idea can get started right away, get people involved using something like this community toolbox. Time goes, once Radish is up and running the collective intelligence, it would be sharing the conversations that are being built around this structure of this community toolbox. So I just want to share quickly the table of contents, for example, and what it gives you. And this is all free for any public, or pardon me, any nonprofit organization. They've got it completely laid out as a roadmap to create any, sorry, big fingers in the way, to create any community-minded enterprise. So chapter 1, creating your model for your community change and improvement. Chapter 2, other models to consider. And with each one of them, there's a toolbox to related to that chapter. So I don't want to take too much time with respect to this, but chapters 3, assessing community needs and resources. Chapter 4, getting issues on the public agenda. 5, choosing strategies to promote your community. Chapter 6, communications, how to promote interest. Chapter 7, encouraging involvement in your enterprise. On and on it goes, orienting ideas in leadership, core functions in leadership, becoming an effective manager. Chapter 19, choosing and adapting community interventions. Chapter 24, improving services. So anyway, I'm just skipping right through, but right down chapter 34, media advocacy. Again, there's toolkits that go along with this. So it's like, how many chapters? 46 chapters, right down to planning for sustainability. So you see, Adam and Jason, any idea that anybody has related to saving the planet can get a start using this community toolbox. It plugs into the Radical Collective Intelligence, and you're off to the races. And so if somebody's interested in my thoughts with respect to saving the planet, saving wildlife and such, I could connect to anybody around the world using Radish, as well as being plugged into this community toolbox to give us the organizational instruction on what to do next, right? So
that's
crazy.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'll go on mute.
I just want to say I'm from Kansas City originally, and I did go to University of Kansas for 1 year, and I'm extremely proud of them to come up with something like this, and I'm surprised I've never seen it. I have a lot of activity looking at these kinds of online tools and platforms, and never come across this one. Thank you so much for sharing, and your point is well taken that this is the kind of extension. This is to manifest the strategies and plans that our radical collective intelligence come up with. This is the next step, is the resources to do it.
Michael, can you put the link? Can you put the link to what you're looking at right now up on the thing, like you did how to trust your computer?
I will.
Thank you.
And gentlemen, I just wanted to let everyone know it's 12:04 p.m. We're a little bit late, so I need to end this, and then we're going to start the next one, which is on a new story for humanity. And you're all welcome to join. Look out for the new link, which I'll email out and also post on Facebook and Google Plus and on YouTube. So
grab those links before I guess it goes away.
Yep, the link. Yep.
And I've really enjoyed being here with everybody. Unfortunately, I can't join the next call, but we'll look forward to the continuity of all these evolutionary conversations. So
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Typing. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you all in the next one, starting in about 3 or 4 minutes here. I'll get the next one going. All right. See you all in the next one. See you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.